In 1964, at the Long Beach International Karate Championships, a young man by the name of Bruce Lee introduced himself to the world by demonstrating a martial arts style called Jeet Kune Do. And perhaps the most impactful moment of that demonstration came in the form of what is called the 1-inch punch. Bruce called up a volunteer on that day from the crowd and had him stand about 6 inches away from him, and then he placed his fist about an inch away from the gentleman's chest. And with barely any visible wind-up and in one explosive movement, he hit the guy and he knocked him back on his heels and ultimately back on his chair. Now, he didn't hurt him, but he definitely sent shockwaves around the arena. People were just blown away by just how such a minimal, efficient movement could have such an explosive impact. It was a powerful performance, and it really shook up the martial arts world. The 1-inch punch is really all about maximum efficiency, no wasted movement, and generating focused power with minimal expenditure of energy. And that concept really stuck with me. If you'd like to see this demonstration for yourself, I did place a link in the video description. It's worth your time to check it out. It's really quite an amazing thing. So why am I telling you about this? Well, there was a period in my life when I was obsessed with Lee's approach and mindset. To be clear, I have no interest in combat or fighting or hurting anybody. I just loved his discipline, his amazing work ethic, and his philosophy, and it just felt like something I could apply to many of my own life ambitions, namely fingerstyle guitar. And while going through a particularly intense period of guitar study at that time, I read Lee's book called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do and started asking myself how I could apply those same principles to my own playing. I guess in general, I've always been drawn from connecting seemingly unrelated disciplines to help refine my music and playing. I think it adds a little depth, offers some fresh perspectives on fundamentals, particularly technical things, maybe right hand, left hand technique. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And connecting those mechanics to the efficiency of the 1-inch punch just felt like a natural fit. So let's talk about the application of the 1-inch punch to fingerstyle guitar. There's really 4 principles. The first one I'd like to talk about is eliminating the wind-up, eliminating any telegraphed motion. So in martial arts, that means like you don't want to pull back, wind up, hit, and then like I mentioned before, that 1-inch punch, it's just basically boom. He's just hitting them, focused target, maximum force, minimal effort. I like to apply that same idea to actually both of my hands, and I really do think about this. And in the right hand, it's some of you watching this know these fundamentals, but it's really about just the absolute minimum movement on that right hand picking pattern, just playing through and getting the maximum sound you can get with just the minimum, most focused movement. On the left hand, the same thing can be happening, can be applied rather, to any sort of hammer-on, pull-off movement that you have. Again, no wind-up, nothing like this. You're just staying over the fretboard and just hitting the minimum movement to the maximum target, maximum effect. The second principle that I pulled from the 1-inch punch is the whole idea of relaxation to tension. You can see that in the instant snap that he does, he's relaxing, boom, and then he relaxes again. The muscles stay loose until they're needed, apply that force, and then they relax again. And in guitar playing, particularly in fingerstyle guitar playing, we all know that you can build up a lot of tension very quickly, just because there's a lot going on, and you think about things, or you stop thinking about things, and you just get more and more tense, and that can inhibit your movement, inhibit your phrase, just inhibit your overall expression playing. So I try to keep that in mind, keep everything totally relaxed, whether it's in between phrases, in between movements, position shifts, even finger movement, just to keep everything relaxed. But then when you're ready to pounce, you hit the movement, pull it back. And it seems counterintuitive because it seems like the amount of thinking that I would put into this would create tension, but really it's more of an awareness. I'm going to try to be aware of all my movements and having that tension release going all the way through performance or what have you. The next thing, the third principle, it's the kinetic chain. In his case, or the movement, it's arm mass versus, and I'm saying like the finger squeeze. So really what that means is that power comes from a larger body of muscle groups. And in Lee's sense, he really used, you can't tell because it's just a real small movement with that 1-inch punch, but he's using most of his body to set himself up and apply the proper torque needed for the power. And I think in guitar playing, especially beginners, if you're first learn to pick, for example, it's common that you'll play with just maybe like the little minimal, partial joints of your fingers, just that. You can get a real flimsy kind of snappy sound. The same thing with the left hand again, just, moving, just not using the whole finger. Particularly in the right hand, it's all about using the larger muscle groups. And I think about this again all the time. It's instead of plucking from the middle small joint, I use the whole finger. And if you've gone through any classical guitar training, that's really what they talk about. So it's like that full, using all the larger muscle groups, following through. And when you're moving and you're doing any sort of additional position shifting, trying to use your forearm and wrist as needed. Of course, if you're doing any strumming, raschiato, anything like that, you call upon those larger muscles. You might think you're going to be exerting more energy, but actually what that does is it just creates the power needed, but also the full-bodied sound and the pleasant tone that you really need, and the projection, I should say, especially in a solo art form. So think larger muscle groups, whole body if you need to. And then the last principle, the fourth, is zero follow-through drag. I guess in the martial arts and the 1-inch punch, that punch transfers energy instantly at the surface without getting stuck. So he just boom, boom. He just hits, boom, done. Like that, boom. Again, we talked about earlier, like no wasted movement, real efficient energy usage. And the same thing can happen on the guitar. Once again, getting back to that right hand finger picking technique. This is more about precision, making sure that you're really setting yourself up, hitting the strings that you want to hit. Don't, no sloppy stuff like that where you might be brushing across some extra strings by accident. Really focusing and playing only what you want to hear in a very clear, precise manner. The same thing can be applied to the left hand, where you're doing, again, slurs or any hammer-ons and pull-offs. So just a way to kind of, again, zero follow-through or through less drag and just being as precise as possible. So what I'd like to do now, I guess in closing here, is show you, just play a little example. I'm going to play an example from my piece Novella. I put this together a while back, but this was the first composition where I really started thinking about these principles, kind of applying Bruce's ideas, particularly this principles of the 1-inch punch. And again, it's both hands. This piece has some pretty precise right hand finger picking, as you'll see, but even more so this left hand, a lot of sequential hammer-ons and pull-offs that really require that precision. The force, but not too much. It's force when you need it, precision when you need it, and you want to get a combination of notes and ideally a little bit of percussion. So it's kind of the whole thing, I think of it as like a series of 1-inch punches all put together to make for an efficient, hopefully excellent, pleasing performance. So I'm just going to play a little excerpt of that just to give you an idea. I hope this helps you, or at least you can draw some ideas to help improve your own playing from this as well. Or maybe it'll inspire you to think about how other arts and other disciplines and things that you find appealing in ways that you can apply them to your own playing to just increase those depths, make yourself a better player, and maybe give you some new ideas as well. So thanks a lot for listening. I hope this has been helpful, and I'm going to play out with Novella just a little bit, and we'll see you next time. whole series of them. Hope you dug it. See you next time.